Hello and welcome to a training on Integrated Treatment Services, a program of clinical and support options, Friends of the Homeless, a shelter program in Springfield, Massachusetts. Learn about One Shelter's trauma-responsive sheltering programming, combining support for mental health, substance abuse, medical, and housing challenges comprehensively in a housing-first approach. My name is Christy O'Brien, and I'm the Program Director for the Integrated Treatment Services program. Hailing from the field of social work, you'll hear that I bring perspectives of social justice, the importance of psychodynamic historical factors, and the very healing nature of a trauma-informed approach. In this training module, you can expect to witness the impact of the intersection between trauma, mental health disorders, substance abuse challenges, medical challenges, and housing needs. Better understand social work's role in homelessness versus the role of a housing-first administrative perspective only. Learn One Shelter's changing practices, the innovation of trauma-responsive sheltering and housing. And explore how integrated models of treatment from a multi-systems approach may help to resolve homelessness for some individuals over the long term. Listen in. Throughout this module, I am so excited to bring you several opportunities to hear from individuals currently experiencing homelessness and currently working with the Integrated Services team. Although they have provided consent, their identities have continued to be protected. You'll find that during these moments of audio clips, you may need to adjust your volume throughout the module. In order to begin better understanding the work, I wanted to challenge my assumptions. I wanted to challenge my team's assumptions about what we thought we knew about homelessness, and there seemed like no better opportunity than to speak to people who have experienced it. Here's a couple of examples.
They pretty much set me up to fail. I had an apartment that I couldn't afford with the income I had, regardless, and I had SSI, so pretty much my income wasn't meant to change, so he knew that and he moved me in. So that's why most people have to wait 2 years to get put back in a homeless shelter. I didn't, because it was their fault, not my fault. And then, like, when I got housed here, 4 years I slept outside. It wasn't by choice. I tried to get housed, but now I can get my kids back. I'm not throwing that away. I turned down 2 housings before this one because they weren't going to grow with my kids. I'm not going to take housing, which would have been just like the housing I got with my kids. Set me up to fail. I'm not going to take something that's going to put me right back out on the street. This is a voucher, so it'll grow when my kids come back.
I had an apartment one time, and for helping people out, being in, the homeless life, I ended up losing out on everything. But before being homeless, it was pretty good. I worked and I took care of my daughter, and if I didn't work, I would take care of her and take care of my house. But, at least this is here. It's better than being on the street.
Starting out at the beginning and better understanding how people entered into this experience felt really important. As you can hear, these are just 2 examples, and as I've learned quite quickly, each individual has a vastly different story from one to the next. But common throughout these voiceovers, what you'll hear is the very profound experiences of challenge and heartache. I want to back up a little bit and really begin to develop a working definition. During this module, we will refer to individuals experiencing homelessness as opposed to homeless individuals or the homeless, as it's not an identity and it's typically not a static event. The next several slides will talk about the experience of homelessness. I wanted to gain a statistical perspective of what homelessness circumstances looked like in the United States. So beginning with who experiences homelessness. According to SAMHSA, or the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration, they assert that there's not one typical profile for persons experiencing homelessness. Often many of us are one paycheck away, for example, or someone may be post-incarceration, perhaps a runaway teen, perhaps someone in early recovery without payment for rent, someone experiencing severe mental illness, perhaps interpartner violence, interpersonal problems, family problems, etc. The range of experiences is vast, and like I mentioned, I've learned really quickly firsthand that assumptions cannot be made. In the United States, on a single night count in 2018, approximated that there were nearly 373,000 people experiencing homelessness, over 88% with chronic patterns, and nearly 38,000, did I say 88%? 88,000 with chronic patterns, excuse me, and nearly 38,000 with veteran statuses. Massachusetts had approximately 20,000 of these individuals, or 20 in every 10,000. Legally, by state law, the individuals in Massachusetts do not have right to shelter, though families do. So these systems tend to be run pretty separately, pretty differently. The state does provide resources to shelter individuals, but does not dictate shelter functioning. Housing instability has been indicated to stem from lack of payment, eviction, estrangement in families, recent incarceration, recent residential treatment, and housing provided to individuals perhaps too quickly who had been experiencing homelessness, and then without rectifying or treating the original challenges leading to homelessness patterns. It also felt really important to learn what else people were managing. Among individuals experiencing homelessness, it's been statistically indicated that 1 in 10 are also experiencing substance abuse, although anecdotally that number feels quite low. Many can attest to triple diagnostic presentations or individuals simultaneously managing the occurrence of mental health challenges, substance abuse, and medical issues. Finally, again, although statistically only 20 to 33% of men and women have been respectively identified with PTSD symptoms, anecdotally this seems quite low, and most to all individuals we encounter who are experiencing homelessness carry with them trauma histories. Again, an opportunity to listen in. I wanted firsthand accounts of what the intersection of trauma, substance abuse, and homelessness sounded like according to individuals currently in our shelter experience. Here's a few examples.
Would you identify yourself as somebody who has a trauma history?
Yeah.
So what's it like to have trauma while in shelter?
Sometimes you get to see other people that have went through kind of the same, and you see how in common or different you are to that person. Or sometimes it makes things a bit more difficult. Sometimes any little thing can trigger something, or other people might not take trauma the same way I do, so they'll probably respond to certain things different. So it kind of makes me feel like sometimes you always have to be on some kind of defense.
All the time.
Yeah.
Just to sort of be here and be safe.
Mm-hmm. And just so you could feel safe, and so like you and your things are good, and everything is tight, cordial, and at a balance.
Problem with the world. It's just because you're an addict, you must be a bad parent. You must be a bad citizen. You must be a this. Addicts, in all honesty, will give you the shirt off their back because of what they've been through. They'll probably be the first person to bring you back your $100 or your drugs or what you asked for because they want your trust more than anybody else, because they're the most untrusted people in the world.
And they're just trying to feel okay. I mean,
no, they're trying to fit in. They're trying to have somebody think of them equal. You walk around and everybody looks at you, you're normal, you're equal, you got a job, you got a house, you fit in, you're normal. Me, I'm an addict. I'll always be an addict. That person that looks at me, they're always going to see an addict. They're never going to see anything else. They're never going to see past that addict.
For the sake of time in this training, I want to share with you some clips from this young man's experience as well.
Like, what's it like sleeping in shelter? Kind of.
There's so much extra noise, which sends your imagination on overdrive. Because some of, you know what I mean, the things that you fear could go wrong are things that often go wrong. You know what I mean? It's one of those places where, because there's so many people gathered up in one place, the points of failure just multiply and maximize, because at every point where something could go wrong, there's more opportunities for it to happen. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you feel justified in this kind of paranoid feeling that you have, because it's what it is. It's an environment of all the people you could imagine in their worst situation, which would inevitably bring out, most likely, some of their worst behaviors. Because even, you know what I mean?
Question. Do you feel like having a history with trauma in it gets exacerbated here? Do you feel like it's quieted here? I mean, what is that like to carry around with you in this kind of environment?
It's both. It's kind of muted in the sense that everyone around you, you know what I mean, essentially has their own issues, but of them, there's a certain percentage that, you know what I mean, are here due to their own, let's call it maliciousness or whatever. And amongst those people, you have to kind of keep quiet like a mouse, because they're the type that will take advantage of your hurt, you know what I mean, in order to like get what they want, regardless of whether or not it hurts you further. So in that sense, you have to keep yourself muted to a certain extent, because if you don't, then, you know what I mean, you become food for others. So you could say it's exacerbated because when you go through something, it affects you. You know what I mean? Like, the brain doesn't have a way for processing trauma per se, like, doesn't have its own particular organ, etc.
And then sometimes it's like we want, I mean, me personally, we want like somebody to listen, but we don't know how to speak up so they can listen.
So as you can hear, different experiences, but a very common underlying thread of struggle and challenge, and quite a complex one. In the early 2000s and across America, the social policy Housing First gained momentum as the lead practice in treating homelessness. Understanding the complexities of what these recent individuals just shared, better understanding the theoretical and predominantly utilized housing modality seemed like a really important contrast. Travis Lupick, Canadian journalist who has comprehensively covered the intersection of homelessness and substance abuse, writes, "The U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness posits that people experiencing homelessness need the safety and stability of a home in order to best address challenges and pursue opportunities. The Housing First approach simply gives homes to people experiencing homelessness, regardless of whether they are sober, have jobs, or have health problems. Being homeless is traumatic even in itself, and so providing stability with a home first makes other issues more conquerable. The Housing First model has proven to be very effective, retaining people in homes at higher rates while surprisingly cost-effective." So going into this work, there are several assumptions that this team actively embraced and for you to consider. First, that it's important to address all areas of an individual's need for healing in order to successfully improve housing stability over the long term. And that housing stability itself has been shown to support long-term recovery and help prevent relapse from substance abuse and mental disorders. Clinical and Support Options is a behavioral health agency based and practicing in Western Massachusetts. CSO prides itself on its commitment to providing comprehensive support to individuals and families, and, importantly, with a trauma-informed model of care. 2 years ago, CSO merged with the longtime and largest shelter in Springfield, Massachusetts, Friends of the Homeless. This partnership combined mental health specialists with trauma-informed care focuses with sheltering and housing experts, enabling, importantly, what will become innovatively trauma-responsive sheltering and housing teams. So what does trauma-informed homelessness intervention look like? It combines focuses on safety, trustworthiness, peer support, collaboration, empowerment, and choice and voice with an awareness of the existence of the later expression of trauma, creation of opportunities to rebuild control, and strengths-based approaches during sheltering and housing processes, a truly innovative enterprise in homelessness work. Clinical and support options, Friends of the Homeless provides a number of services in addition to emergency shelter and housing case management. I'm happy to elaborate on any things, but for the sake of time, any of these items, but for the sake of time, I'm going to move forward kind of quickly through them. We have 110 single room occupancy housing situations for those most chronically and severely in need throughout our county. A resource center open every day from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., providing comfort from the elements and access to the variety of treatment the shelter offers. A meal program 3 times a day. On-site medical and dental clinic 5 days a week. Case management for all, something that directly speeds up the process of housing. Staff around the clock. And of course, emergency shelter. Let's listen in again. People's memories of their first nights in shelter are profound.
Far too much was going on. I honestly had to I found a little corner, to just kind of disappear into, and I did that. I kind of made sure nobody was really paying attention to me too much, and I try to block out as much of the world as possible. You don't know what's going on, and either you spend your whole night panicking trying to figure it out, or you just say, deal with it as it comes. And as as you spend days there, your first night, starts to look better or worse depending on the day.
Do you feel like
my anxiety was kind of high. It was different. It's not what you would expect it to be. In some parts, it's better than you thought it would be, but it's not something you want to get used to. But yeah, I was anxious and didn't know how everybody else's personalities are and how everybody else is and the rules and things you can and cannot do. So,
is there anything? What was better than you expected it to be, and what was harder?
Better as in
Oops, not sure what happened to the rest of that clip. It's worth also noting at this point that all of these pictures you're seeing from shelter are actual shots from our current shelter and from our shelter guests. So as I listen to these individuals and as I've spent time in the evenings in shelter, I know the very real experience, and hearing what people are dealing with internally and where they're sleeping just moves me every time. Friends of the Homeless shelters over 1,000 individuals, distinct individuals, each year, and over 200 people on campus each night. Some of what individuals experience as a traumatic part of homelessness is the overcrowding, the overstimulation, the overexposure to others' traumas as well. Let's listen into one more clip.
Being here and being cooped up in a room with so many females, and sometimes it takes whatever's going on in our personal life plus that. It's a lot to handle, or sometimes we just.
So we know a good deal about our average population. For instance, all the statistics that you're seeing and that I'll share are from 2018 data from Friends of the Homeless. About half of the people that entered shelter reported no income, and the other that reported income, 75% of that was from Social Security disability alone. The average age range in 2018 was between 25 and 54 years old, something that we very consistently see from year to year. Latinx, Caucasian, and Black races predominate shelter, and over 80% of housing outcomes were reported to be one type of permanently, temporarily, or diverted housing experiences. We also know that the majority of those in shelter also present with 3 needs that present with common mental health challenges. These are listed in actually no particular order, but we see a wide variety of such expressions: mood disorders, anxiety disorders, psychotic disorders, substance use, trauma, and often many of these combined. We also feel that a significant population of those in shelter present with what I'd consider a triple diagnosis: mental health and behavioral challenges, plus substance abuse challenges, plus medical challenges, all often needing critical and fairly immediate attention. But there's a great deal we want to know more about our population. For instance, I would love to know statistically, the top 5 reasons leading individuals in our locale to experience homelessness, the incidence of single event and complex trauma histories, the incidence of substance use, the incidence of triple diagnostic expressions, and significantly, how reductions in mental health challenges, substance abuse, and medical needs impact permanent housing rates. We especially hope to improve the accuracy of current data being gathered. It's our contention that without the safety of a trauma-informed rapport and approach, there is significant underreporting of all these experiences upon entry to shelter. So let's brainstorm. Friends of the Homeless is considered a low-barrier shelter, or permitting individuals to be on site in a variety of presentations that other shelters are not able to accommodate. Very specifically, people under the influence. We do not allow individuals to have drugs or alcohol on property, have any paraphernalia associated with the use on property, or to use on property, but we welcome individuals who are under the influence so long as it's not life-threatening to them or causing concern for any other guests. So, thinking about this, what can you imagine are some of the advantages to being a wet shelter? Can you think of the disadvantages, or a variety of them? And hearing what we just heard about trauma and trauma histories, what do you think the impact is in the context of trauma and active trauma? These are things and topics we navigate daily and really work hard to develop consistent and trauma-informed, compassionate policies around. And, as you can likely imagine, it is not a simple endeavor. Integrated Treatment Services is a program developed after the award of $2 million federal dollars from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration for the qualitative and quantitative integration of mental health, substance abuse, medical care, and rapid housing searches. It's the grant's perspective and our focus that when all ducks are in a row, so to speak, we are able to provide cutting-edge trauma-responsive homelessness work. We respond to trauma, chronic mental illness, significant life disturbance, substance abuse, acute or chronic medical conditions, housing placement assistance, and importantly, after housing maintenance and further advancement. Our overarching goals are for our multifaceted team to enroll 100 distinct participants each year, provide them with access to mental health, substance abuse treatment, engagement with primary care, case management, transportation, crisis support, and more to 90% to 100% of them. We aim to get 75% housed and 100% treated. We firmly believe in harm reduction sheltering approaches. Lupic again illustrates this philosophy quite articulately. Inherent in harm reduction is an understanding that it's not necessarily the drugs themselves that do the most damage to the user. It is and can be the laws and systems of prohibition that are hurting people the most. Unless a mental illness or a substance use concern or a medical condition is causing problems with an individual's judgment or life-threatening situation to the guest or to another guest, the integrated treatment team honors individuals with a harm reduction approach in our work. We also believe in self-determination as an agent of change, allowing each person for themselves the time, place, course, and method of therapeutic treatment chosen, if any, as Lupic also writes. Importantly, we do not presume that the need for shelter will also coincide with the commencement of sobriety or mental health. Let's watch. I'm so pleased that one integrated treatment client member was able to share her experience having services provided to her on site.
Okay. I'm Heather Fox, and I am staying at Friends of the Homeless here in Springfield, and I came here from another state and to help my son who was here. And since I've been here, I've received a lot of assistance regarding my mental health and seeing psychiatrists and a therapist, and also I'm getting help through the shelter itself. Getting housing assistance and filling out all the information and forms and stuff. And it's really helped me cope with being homeless. The things that we have to do during the day, whether it's regarding recovery, which I am in recovery now. I've been clean 4.5 years. And also just other using art and other means to express ourselves mentally, emotionally, to help ourselves, cope better, and so it's been wonderful, now that CSO has been here.
Google Fi. Get $300.
No Google. She's been a delight and has worked just so hard and is really doing well. And it was so lovely of her to share her experience. So without knowing everything we want to know about our population's trauma, we know that it exists. And so in the meantime, we're improving our potential for data collection and are responding to it. So that looks like creating safety. We're on site and available clinically 12 hours a day, staff around the clock, but clinical responsiveness, and in particular for crisis situations, available 12 hours from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Each day. We're providing outpatient and psychiatric services on site in both English and Spanish, currently without a wait list. Providing support groups, including those on emotional skill expression, on substance abuse, community support building, and drug user harm reduction behaviors. Importantly, we offer transportation daily. This has been an invaluable resource to help people achieve all of these things in addition to housing. Additionally, we're improving informed consent practices for those experiencing homelessness and participating in a great deal of advocacy for improved human rights within our site, community, and across partnering practices. While we cannot often conduct trauma treatment for individuals in a shelter setting due to the need for increased stabilization and sense of safety, we can and are actively improving individuals' sense of autonomy, creating safety each and every day. We're helping them take up space in the world, validating that they are seen, sharing in their story, helping them manage difficult emotions, and days when our team struggles, when we're not tangibly seeing the successes we want to see and seeing the movement forward we want to see. This is something we hold very near and dear, that of course in any of the work that we do in the field, there's lots of moments of importance in just this factor in helping people be seen and know that they're seen and valued, and it comes in very handy in this type of work. So again, while we aim to improve our knowledge of our population's substance use as well, we are supporting those who use every single day. Knowing that rates of use are disproportionately higher than the average population, that heroin and cannabis are the most prominently used drugs in our area, and that rates of fatal and non-fatal overdoses are at critical highs, we can and are responding quite tactically. We're bearing witness, we're engaging with rapport, we're providing acceptance and allowing autonomy and anonymity in decision making. We've also built relationships with area harm reduction practices, inpatient detox centers, step-down treatment centers, and have helped initiate an area opioid coalition. We keep our staff regularly Narcan trained and consistently stocked with Narcan kits. Also vital in our work is supporting surrounding staff. Homelessness work is rife with vicarious trauma, creative overload, burnout. We provide trainings in vicarious trauma. We try to model and support self-care, empower staff around us with harm reduction tools, and attend critical event aftermath debriefings. We cannot best support our guests and our clients without supporting us, ourselves, and their providers. Let's brainstorm again. Now, in a few moments, or certainly save this slide for later to go back to, but I'd love you to take a self-assessment. Where are the points, the important areas of intersection and integration in your work? Where is there that critical overlap that improves efficacy, improves efficiency, improves a holistic and comprehensive approach towards client care? Where is the integration developmentally? Is it young? Is it more seasoned and more routine? Is it an expectation among guests, clients, or is it new and feeling similarly innovative? Where are the stages of acceptance to change among treatment professionals, among staff, among the treatment population? Change is hard. It's something that we've encountered both with staff and client populations significantly, and have really used that as a listening tool and as a way to better understand listening for needs as opposed to kind of blindly responding in a theoretical way. What are the known obstacles to these points of integration? What are they? Where are there some unknown ones, although maybe you're feeling blips in workflows? Take a better look at where they may be. And what do successes look like? Quite importantly, where is there moments of success that can be celebrated, can be modeled? Where can we take moments to step back from the individual work and look down from a macro or meso perspective and gain clarity in that what we're doing and what we're working so hard to do every day has efficacy? So something else I wanted to know more about was what keeps us going. A lot of the people that I now work around have worked at Friends of the Homeless for years upon years, and knowing the quality of the work and the quantity of guests, I wanted to know more about what keeps you going. Let's listen in.
Why I'm here, because tomorrow will be something entirely different. You never know. It's not a cookie cutter job. You have to have the personality to want to go above and beyond. Even my girlfriend to this day gets mad at me because at 4:30 when I punch out, I'm still, if I run into anybody, I'm doing this kind of work. I'm asking if someone's after money, I'm giving them money. If someone's cold, I'm going in my trunk, giving them clothes and food and stuff like that. Or
Not sure what happened there. Let's try.
But trust the fact that you can relate to them. Do you think that impacts your work with them?
I think trust is a big deal. It's a bigger deal than you think it is. And it could be something as stupid as saying that you'll get a bus pass for them, and if you forget, they feel like they're not worth it. And it's just trusting and the follow up and continuing the handshaking and the baby kissing in the morning. And it's very important to these people's lives. Like when I come in every day, people are looking for you right away. Sometimes you can't even get out of the car because they hunt you down. So that's the greatest part about working here is you're needed, you're wanted, you're making a difference in people's lives.
I just love these.
Just the work in itself is gratifying. Coming into FOH, and what got me here is that I've experienced a lot of things in my own life. So I come here with a passion to help somebody. And that's what keeps me staying, is because just if it's one or two people that I was able to make a difference in their life and help them, that's what keeps me going. Come a lot of things in my own life. And leading by example, I just want a lot of people to know that substance abuse, even mental health issues I've endured, that change is possible.
I just adore these clips, and it's in particular while looking into the Friends of the Homeless Resource Center after dinner in the evening. These are people that I work around every day, and without romanticizing the work, it's profound. It's profound for clients and guests, and it's profound for the people who work there. It's such an important place of intersection, and a true privilege to be a part of the work. So I wanted to offer you a bit more exploration in the integration. We've provided a conversation between the longtime manager of Friends of the Homeless, now Vice President of Housing and Homelessness Work for Clinical and Support Options, Bill Miller, and myself, Program Director of Integrated Treatment Services, Christy O'Brien. Listen in to see how the work intersects between, for instance, homelessness administration and now social work.
Hello, I'm Christy O'Brien. I'm the Director of Integrated Treatment Services here at Clinical and Support Options Friends with the Homeless.
And I'm Bill Miller. I'm Vice President of Housing and Shelter Services for Clinical and Support Options, overseeing operations here at Friends of the Homeless, which is a program of CSO.
We wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about homelessness work, talk about integrating services in the homelessness field, and how adding clinical services specifically has an impact on sort of overall work and process in general. So Bill, I was hoping you could talk a little bit about what homelessness work kind of looks like in its simplest form, I guess.
I think if you don't mind, I'll take like a broad brush stroke and just take us back to the 1980s, just really quickly. We won't spend a lot of time there, but we do, we do have to realize that the big thing in our society at that time was closing down state hospitals and so forth. And, America didn't really have a homeless problem up until the 70s and 80s, when those things started happening. So we have to know that the population that might otherwise have been in those hospitals, oftentimes the people went on the street. So fast forward to today, as we integrate clinical services, that's a piece of what we see. Now, it's not all of what we see, but it's a piece of it, and it's an important piece. I think another sort of important piece is to understand where this particular shelter is located. So it's in Springfield, Mass, and it's in an urban environment that has a poverty rate in the general population of 30% of the general population. So population of the city is 150,000. 50,000 people are living at or below the poverty line. So when you have people living in poverty, they're that much closer to homelessness in general. But you also have a higher rates of addiction, drug abuse, and various other things that impact what we do. But so understanding that we have that sort of population that's, let's say, mentally ill, and then you have a population of people with high level of addiction, and then there's not, there are separate services for different folks, but if you don't sort of do what those services tell you, let's say, you end up on the streets or maybe in the shelter, but community housing shelter, and so that's us. We're sort of a place where people with very different needs will end up in the mix, and in our case, we have about 150 different shelters, both men and women over the Pacific borders. It's a tough environment, and then we have another 100 single rooms where people with similar issues are moved out of into a next step of housing, but they're still living on the campus. So we have 250 people living on the campus who some are just here because they're poor and they're going to run bad luck, but others know have significant health needs, substance use challenges, or substance use.
So Bill, one of the things that I've noticed since we've had the opportunity to bring clinical services on site is, just as you've mentioned, there's a lot of individuals who are in shelter who, like you mentioned, may have opportunities to be in other systems and other services, but if they don't comply with those services, for one reason or another, then they tend to get ejected from those services. And the other thing that we've noticed is that there's a lot of folks who don't fit into those services. And so I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that and how there's lots of individuals like who may have once populated state hospital or in these systems or within or between these systems that places like Friends of the Homeless work with very closely.
Well, I mean, it's a great comment and question, and I think being in the shelter business, it's really easy to get frustrated with the state system, the federal system, because in fact we do see that the folks who don't fit into the different categories. And so I guess I have to say that, the Department of Mental Health, for instance, or the Department of Public Health, or the Department of Developmental Disabilities, they do tremendous work and they serve thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people. But yes, the folks that we get will fit deeply into, or even not into different sort of modalities that are out there. And so, and cases are, even the medical needs that we see late in end of life situations that we're seeing lately are so complex. And I've frankly worked for some of those other systems too over the years, and those feel strange and challenging well. So, but in the shelter system, we're the least well funded of any of them, and dealing with client to staff ratios that are outrageous in any other medical service field, and so and dealing with folks who are not sort of interested in complying with traditional sort of modalities in some cases, and at the end of the day, though, we don't want to raise people out to live on the streets, sleep on the streets. So we really, I think there's an internal conflict with just working because we feel like we're the last house in the lot. And so I think people drawn to this work themselves, happier because you care about them. Then you're stuck sort of how you serve them when maybe they don't feel like they want service.
Well, it can't. I mean, I think we've, again, had a lot of conversations, and this work has really enabled itself because there is a mentality, in particular here at Homeless, where, not even so much an interest in or being disinterested in fun, like you just can't, for one reason or another, and very often a lot of it seems to boil down to trauma and mental health and substance use and everything that sort of is associated with that. And there's individuals who, again, with the complexities, one reason or another can't. I mean, I firmly believe in this work that we're all sort of trying as hard as we can. It's just so much more complicated with this population. So, another thing that I've noticed since being here and thinking about integrated services is that homelessness work has had to be integrated with so many other community-based agencies in order to do it successfully.
Right. We absolutely have to because we don't have the resources here for utilize whatever resources out there, make human connections with services we talk to, what have you, so that when somebody is ready for treatment, another big component, a huge component really, is housing. I know that we've talked about housing first as a strategy, really as a production strategy, but also if you think about from the long-term care strategy, if you can get people out of shelter, certainly off the streets, and into housing, it's a room, even just a room that they can lock their door and have control over, the amount of safety and supplying it. We know that will resolve some people, not fully resolve their issues, but it will lower their anxiety levels and some of their symptoms in a variety of ways. Just having security at home, it sounds like common sense, but the notion of housing first, which is housing before you resolve all your problems, is sort of a new idea for substance use is a good example. Like, until you're abstinent, you're not ready for treatment. Already addiction is such this medical problem, right? So until you're abstinent, you're not ready for housing. Well, that means you're without the work until you're really ready. I mean, I've known hundreds of people over the years who have lived outdoors in shelter and that kind of thing. It doesn't help somebody get bottom to live outdoors. They just lower their body.
One of the things I also love about working here is being a low barrier shelter and really having a community of individuals who are of the mindset that sobriety and the need for a shelter do not necessarily coincide. They're not necessarily going to happen at the same time. And so being able to be here and be part of those supportive things while moving along the rest of the process has been something that is that feels like really good trauma-based, compassionate, non-judgmental care. And it seems like FOH was a place that was really set up to do that, to sort of perform that way. Do you agree, or was there a history to that?
Well, again, it's another good notice. So once upon a time, sort of tough love was a big thing. Substance treatment, it had its uses. But what about compassion? I think that is, how effective is that? And we don't fully understand the sort of social model approach to substance use treatment has had some positive effects. But again, that's typically abstinence-based. I think we're looking at kind of a hybrid that helps to reduce harm and hopefully induce people to go further into some level of treatment. We're right, meeting people kind of where they're at. Some 60s language.
Sure, yeah.
Not from them, but do know that people can improve without having to get to 100%. So yeah, I mean, I like it. It is a national sort of strategy that some places have adopted or are adopting. It has its
What's the privilege to do the work, I think, here, because it takes that housing first model of like, let's really hurry up and provide housing the minute it's available, the minute that everything, all the ducks are in a row. But we also get to sort of at the same time check everything, sort of be a support for mental health and substance abuse treatment and medical health in addition to sort of the housing search. And I from a social work perspective, that's just always going to feel like a really, healthy response to putting a roof over someone's head while also taking care of the underlying challenges too, or at least sort of minimizing the harm as that process happens. Do you have a sense, or do you feel we're a very new program? We're about 7 months in. Can you comment at all on sort of what the process has been like since before and after integrated treatment services has been here?
Well, I think it's worth noting that my own bias is that that you should have been here 10 years ago. Maybe not you, but it was something that we worked at getting grant funding for a long time. So yeah, it was really a blessing to get it, a couple years ago, and then it takes that amount of time to kind of put it in place. But I think what you're probably finding out is and I guess I'm not surprised by, is it's sort of easier said than done. It's easier to write about than to do it. Substance abuse in particular is still very mysterious in terms of what is going to help somebody. Just before we came in here to do this interview, we were talking about a case where everybody wants this guy to get clean. A heroin addict who's standing in front of us, borderline overdose, and what do we do about it?
And 2 months ago being housing ready almost. So now managing a hurdle for somebody who inadvertently kind of got caught back up in things again. Yeah, it's not simple. And it's interesting having sort of our team, our neck of the woods at Friends of the Homeless, starting to, having run through a compassionate care model now, looking to sort of find alternative ways to try to boost them forward a little bit before we really fall deeper. So, he's somebody who has refused detox for quite some time now, has cut half his body weight in a matter of probably 2 to 3 months now, and seems close to overdose today, for instance. And so it doesn't feel, I think we've gotten to a position now where it feels somewhat maybe not unethical, but really unhealthy for him to continue to stay here without a little bit of nudging to go from our team, that we're going to continue to be the people who provide him supportive services of a variety of sort, but we now need to put some parameters around, like, listen, we need you to do X, Y, or Z, or we need you to move in this direction of taking care of yourself, or working towards harm reduction, or working on even housing law. We have, less issue with the use than the functionality and the health, and he's hitting crisis point. So.
Right. Well, a couple of things. I mean, people from the sort of abstinence model would debate with us about whether we're sort of enabling people by letting them use and be here. And I think, it's a reasonable debate, except that, people don't get clean right away, and so they're where they're supposed to be. But our litmus for that has been, are they worsening in our care? If they're stable in our care and they're using, then there's some level of hope, but this particular individual is worsening in our care, and so with your efforts and our efforts, we're still not able to improve. So in some ways, then you take that more consequence model, the tough love model, if you will, and say we can't stay here, and that's a difficult consideration. So that's an aspect of what you're looking at. The other thing is with housing first, where you don't wait for some of these issues to resolve as you move into housing. Frankly, the death rate, I think, for heroin addicts who move into housing is higher because there's nobody's around, as you well know, to know that they need Narcan. Then Narcan has been amazing here, again, as I've seen personally. But I've been in this business and related fields for awfully tremendously long time, and I've never seen the level of overdose that we've seen in the last year and a half. You know, we think it's certainly due to fentanyl rather than heroin being so potent, so that people will die, and we know that the Springfield death rate, for instance, is higher than most of the rest of the Commonwealth. I don't even know how it compares nationally. We're, thankfully to our staff, with everybody, everybody's used to using narcotics and providing people. And so that's a really sort of a tricky, newer situation that we have to do.
I mean, in terms of sort of integrating practices and services, under our roof, that's sort of been one layer and one thing that we've done. But because of this issue, it's felt incredibly important for our team to bring on outside sort of harm reduction support in the process of doing this, and really bolster how much Narcan we keep on site and where we keep it on site, and if we're contributing to the data that the city and the state are collecting on this, and then frankly just administering. I mean, it's just as profound as you've mentioned, and it's all I've seen. So it's interesting to hear you talk about from a perspective of over time how that's evolved, because we cannot move forward, for instance, with this particular individual if he is going to be down on the floor in an hour. There's just
well, if he's down on the floor in an hour and we revive him, he'll end up in an ambulance. So go to the hospital. That's right. Maybe we can influence him to get to detox. That's right. Once he's in detox, then your people can reach into detox
and encourage him.
Yeah. So it is tricky. It is tricky, and I don't mean to make light of it or smile. This is sort of a mass unit, so maybe I smile a little bit, but our goal always is to bring people back to life in both the literal and figurative sense. That's right. So just having a team like yours that can leave the site and go to detox and visit people in the hospital, and then our whole clinical model, which allows us to sort of develop aftercare plans for people who do get them hospitalized in inpatient psych, for instance, or even medical inpatient, different kinds of support services. We know we have some really complex cases that have a medical problem, but also psychological, maybe addiction problem mixed in. And they are people that nobody else wants, because their cases. I've had doctors help people. That's a hopeless case. They don't even want them.
Right. It was one of the first lessons I learned coming on this property, that from an outpatient world where we would sort of be able to transition someone in one direction or another, or just shrug our shoulders and say, I don't really know, and pass it along. There's nowhere to pass anything or anyone along, and certainly not that we want to, but it gets so challenging to, at the end of the day, continue to hit barrier after barrier and need to be creative, or need to, as you've done and shown me so much about, pushing the systems to expand themselves. I'm somebody who's a rule follower, take no for an answer, and you've really modeled that that's not good enough, and I think that's really powerful too.
Right, there's this great case that we have collaborated on, where we push, even within our own agency,
right,
but in another county, to pick up services for a very young man who was very vulnerable, as you pointed out and noticed. I frankly might not have even come on my radar, because there's, a couple hundred kids between the ages of 18 and 22 or 24 who come through here. They really come and they go, but you notice a significant mental health situation, and he ended up being very vulnerable on the street, other traumatic events here in this environment. And we were able to transfer him to a small town and for comprehensive services, and frankly, he's had some success with that. So
absolutely,
it took a lot of pushing.
Yes, it did.
A lot of pushing.
Yep. Do you want to talk at all about any of the challenges that have occurred sort of as part of our integrative process under this roof, or other sort of ways of integration, particularly in the clinical sense too, that have come up?
Well, I think, change anywhere is hard. And so I point to a couple things, I guess. Even when housing first came around, people were really resistant, myself included. It's like, wait, what do you mean? You got to be faster first. You got to get yourself together. I think, bringing in clinical services at first, because of people who have lived because they've been in these services and now they do this work. They're great at it, but they feel like they know how it should be done. And so then you bring in people with, multidisciplinary backgrounds and different approaches and different styles, and even, frankly, diversifying who's providing the services in a variety of ways. There's been relational hiccups, I guess I would say, sort of little turf wars a little bit, and it's worth noticing. I think we've been able to move through an awful lot of things, and I think credit to you for coming in with really a respectful kind of approach, knowing and seeing the work that matters here, and it's also evident that the mission matters. So, that goes a long way. If you come in and see people as people, because for a lot of our staff here, they don't have to think about seeing people as people. They know a lot of their relatives sometimes. There's certain people they grew up with. This is a local place that has local people working in it and local people staying in it. Not everyone, but enough. So it's not a challenge to see people as people, where sometimes from a clinical perspective, it's sort of us and them. And so I think the less of that, professional boundaries matter a great deal, obviously, but coming in and sort of being real, really helps a lot.
Well, demystifying what homelessness, what individuals who are experiencing homelessness, what that population looks like. I mean, you've got a great series of talks that you've done before this about being one paycheck away, how we're all sort of one paycheck away potentially for being in a very similar situation. I think that when one looks, carefully or even sort of more generally, we're all represented here, and there's commonalities amongst all of us. I held a community coffee hour support group that I run every Monday morning, and left thanking the group for providing me with the opportunity to hear what they were doing and to motivate me and to move me in a lot of ways. And so, but I think that perspective helps, and being able to approach the work from a humble perspective seems really important as opposed to any sort of power dynamic. But that's a social work perspective, anyways.
Some social workers have it.
That's right. Anything you want to add? Anything that we haven't talked about that feels really relevant to maybe a population sort of going through this series?
Well, I think this is sort of restating maybe what I just said, but I think this is really tough work, and I think if it's what students feel led to. I think if you feel called to this, we need you. I would say that. Certainly need folks who want to be doing this. And I think, although the challenges are like whether I think the rewards
also like another. Absolutely.
Because there is hope. That young man who just graduated high school, again, who's the team for that, that wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
The folks, I've seen folks at the end of their lives who have greater dignity than they would have had otherwise. I mean, what a difference. I had a young man years ago, Native American, who died in a public restroom covered with eggs. The fraternity who egged him, they found him passed out, and the rest of him died there. Versus somebody dying here with us, caring about them. Maybe they die in the room, maybe they get into the hospital in time to die. I mean, it seems like a dark sort of thought, but it's part of life. So we make it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for letting Integrated Treatment Services be part of the mission. And if anyone has any further information that they'd like or would like to be in touch or want to offer suggestions, I'd love to hear them. Please visit us at csoinc.org. Thank you.
So thank you for your viewership. Thanks for sitting through the long interview, but I thought there were a lot of really interesting points to go over and review and just sort of witness what the work looks like when we're sort of theoretically balancing a lot of different things at once all together in this work. I want to thank you overall for your viewership. Thank you for your interest in the subject matter. And please don't hesitate to visit us at csoinc.org if you have additional questions, if you have points of clarification you'd like me to make, or just collaborate. Again, my name is Christy O'Brien. It's been a pleasure to have you listen to this, and I wish you the best of luck in the work.